Hello friends, welcome to the video. We are going to talk about ganking this time, which is a pretty funny word. I'm not really sure where it comes from, but I think if you play MOBAs, it's generally accepted as a term for when you kill someone by surprise. Usually a group of your team members go and surprise someone and kill them. It's not the same as like a team fight where you kind of expect to die, so I wouldn't say, that's ganking. I think it's like, there's a surprise element to it, like I said. As the position 5, we're not going to do too much ganking, usually. At least not in this meta. Right now, it feels like 2v2 is what's standard, and it feels really hard to leave the lane. Like, if you leave the lane and your carry's alone there, it's tough. You're putting them in a vulnerable spot, and even if you get a successful kill, it just doesn't feel worth it to put your safe laner in a rough spot for that amount of time. So right now, ganking in the early game feels a lot like it's a position 4 or a mid laner kind of thing to do. And then later we can be involved in some ganks where we are part of the team members going to surprise. But in the early game, I think it's hard to do as a position 5. But still, we're going to talk about it because if the meta shifts, then it might be important to know. And because the principles behind ganking are really the same, no matter what point of the game you're in, but just how they're carried out is a little different. So we'll talk about the criteria, which, I have right here, this way, there. First, we need to have vision. So in the early game, everyone tends to be in their lanes, so that element of vision is usually covered. But later, especially in the mid game, where people have started to go into the jungle, and that tends to be where you might be ganking someone, that's when you need to have vision of the enemy in order to, go surprise them to know where your target is. I would say this also covers detection in case you're facing off against invisible heroes. You want to have dust. There we go. I don't know why I was forgetting it. Dust or a sentry to be ready to, have vision of them even if they go invisible. I would say this also includes not being seen. So, if the enemy has a ward and they see you running to go kill their carry, there's that element of vision as well where they see you, so they react. And so either your heroes being smoked up, for example, or de-warding along the way and setting up this lack of vision for the enemy team to prepare for a gank. I think that all falls under vision, and that is something we can help as a position 5, that warding and de-warding element, even if we don't participate in the gank itself. But sometimes you can also have a hero who just looks for someone to gank. Next, initiation of the gank. So sometimes, let's think about it. Against a Queen of Pain, if you just run at her, she'll just blink away if she's in danger. So you need to have something fairly instant usually, and it can't just be a matter of running at her. That's kind of what the move speed category is. So, for example, a sniper is someone you could just run at. He doesn't have an escape. Many of his items do not help him escape either. So as long as you're faster than Sniper, you can just run at him to kill him. So that is one of our considerations. How we initiate the gank. Like, do we need something very sudden to surprise them? Or can it just be they're out of position, we'll just run them down? To follow up on that, stuns and slows. It's kind of connected to what I just talked about, but a little different as well. Whereas stun, no one can use any items, they can't react, they can't do anything, they're just unable to play the game. Whereas a slow, that helps with the move speed aspect, where if you're just running them down, they just need to be slowed. But if they have a blink, like Queen of Pain, in our example there, or if they have an item that purges the slow, or they can just teleport away, so sometimes a slow is not enough. That's why stuns tend to be this hard crowd control that they're the most ideal for getting kills like this, but sometimes a slow is enough, and sometimes other forms of crowd control are as well. These soft crowd controls like silences, which, in the Queen of Pain example, she can blink away, so if you stun her, she can't blink. But if you silence her, she can run, but she can't blink. And so sometimes if you have, say, a silence, then it becomes a matter of just running at her with the move speed. But of course, you'll have a time limit where the silence ends and then she'll blink away. And if you're faster, you can make more use of that short amount of time. We'll leave it at that. Let's keep going first. Next is you need to have enough damage, right? So just because you get on top of a hero, maybe you're not going to kill them. Usually, if you have multiple heroes, you should have enough damage. A good example of this, though, would be Morphling, where say you don't surprise him and he manages to start morphing strength, and he has a couple levels in it, and he's going to get to like 2,000 health in the early game. Not a lot of heroes have that amount of damage. And so even if you have like 3 heroes there, but he morphed strength in time, it can be very hard to kill him if you don't have the right tools. And sometimes people have damage, but they don't have this previous stuff, right? Where they're not able to deal their damage. Like in Ursa, he has a lot of damage, but people tend to run away from him or, kite him in a way, and so he's not able to do his damage. But you still need to have the damage. Next is survival, where it's great to get a kill, but if they kill you in return, it cannot be worth it sometimes. It depends who dies, right? So if you get a offlaner kill, but your carry dies, probably not worth it. But if you kill a mid laner and your position 4 dies, and your own mid laner gets the kill, like that's pretty good. We're okay with that. But you still want to consider that element of, will I die in this gank? This plays a lot. This plays a large role in diving towers. Like, can we survive that? But it also plays a role when the enemy hero they're fragile, but they do a lot of damage. So say like a phantom assassin who has damage items, but not necessarily any survivability yet. Like, will she just burst me? Like while we're trying to kill her, before we kill her, she just kills one of us. So something like this would include having a save spell, someone like Oracle or Dazzle, who can keep their teammates alive while they do the damage, the initiation, whatever, or just being a really tanky hero. So Spirit Breaker or Ogre, who can say, let me run under tower first, it'll hit me, I have a lot of health, I have a lot of armor, I have a good regen, so I can, tank several hits before I get close to dying. You hopefully will get the kill in that time, and you'll be trying to help too, and then we'll get out of the tower. Or if I get close to dying, I'll switch the aggro to you then, but I at least can start it off. The reason we covered all these 4 criteria is that every hero has some of them. So let's say I play Jakiro. In terms of vision, I can place wards, but my hero himself doesn't necessarily provide anything in terms of vision. Initiation, I can provide slows, and I have Ice Path, which is decently long range, so if I cast it from trees, it could be this, instant stun where they don't expect it. But my hero is quite slow, and my spells take a long time to cast, so I need this element of surprise, like coming from trees where they can't see me, the Fog of War, or maybe I get an Invis rune, something like that. But I can help with initiation. And you know what? Jakiro has a decent amount of damage. It's not quick damage. All of his damage is damage over time, really. So against someone like Queen of Pain, who might just blink away before we can deal too much damage, that might be an issue. But against someone who just has to run away like Sniper, then I can output a good amount of damage over time, and like I can add that. In terms of survivability, I don't have a saving spell. Jakiro's kind of tanky, but he's no Ogre or Spirit Breaker. So that's an example of one hero, but every hero has some degree where they might provide a lot of damage, they might, be very tanky but not actually do much damage or like initiation. Someone like Bounty Hunter, who finds people while he's invis and then provides additional vision through his ultimate. Every hero has some degree of these 4 criteria. Not just your hero, so you can't just consider your own hero. You have to consider your teammates as well. So if your team is all damage, this is not just ganks, this also applies to team fighting in general, but we're thinking about ganks right now. If your team is like pure damage, great, you have the damage to kill people. But actually, none of you are ever able to get on top of the enemy heroes. You're missing initiation, so no one is able to make use of their damage. Now, the other side of that could be everyone has a bunch of vision spells, a bunch of initiation, but no one's got any damage, so everyone's just escaping. You need some combination of all of these usually. Sometimes the survival one you can skip, but like you need to see your target. You need to be able to, start the fight with the target, and then you need to be able to actually kill them. So when we're thinking about ganking, oftentimes the mid lane is a big target for ganks. You have to think about what your mid laner provides. Queen of Pain. She can handle initiation. She can blink in. She'll do a decent amount of damage, but probably not enough damage to kill anyone on her own, unless they like stand still for a bit. So when you're thinking about ganking with the Queen of Pain, you know, if you don't have an instant stun or a way to gap close, that could be okay because she will blink and slow them a lot. So if you just have a like decent move speed to run in while they're slowed and then stun, for example, that might provide enough damage and initiation as well, combined with Queen of Pain, to get the kill. Now, other heroes like, let's say Lina. Lina has enough damage to kill someone on her own, but it's a little difficult to land her stun. And a lot of people know that Lina can kill them, so they play back. They're just careful. And if they get stunned, they might die, but they just try to play around that. So when you're ganking for a Lina, you just need to help her land that stun, either by providing an initial stun or by slowing them so she can just run up and drop her stun easily. She doesn't really need help in the damage department. She needs help like getting started. So as a hard support, you want to consider what you bring. Do you have a stun? Do you have a slow? Are you helpful? Like, do you provide a lot of damage? Or maybe you like have some kind of vision spell that could be helpful, like Disruptor. In terms of survival, a couple position 5s have saves. This is more useful usually as a responder. So whether you gank, like you're proactively attacking someone, or you respond to a gank. So the enemy dives your mid laner, you respond and help. Most position 5s, well, I don't know if that's totally fair to say, but position 5s are usually one or the other, where, what's a good example? Dazzle. Dazzle is he's a good responder because he has Grave, he has heals. But in terms of initiating a gank, he's like, I can provide a slow, guys, and I guess it does some damage too, but he doesn't really like stun anyone. He doesn't like pop out of nowhere. He's not so good at that, but he's very good at saving people. So he's good at responding. Now, if you have a hero like Huskar on your team who just like, I just need to be kept alive and I'll do literally everything else, then Dazzle can be a ganker. He's like, I'm here, you dive this guy, I'll grave you, and we're all good. And that's why it's important to think about what your teammate has, what you provide to the actual gank. So, I think with that. Oh, also, I'll say you need to consider which, especially in this initiation category, how does your target die? So, like an anti-mage, if he just blinks away, probably not getting the kill. So, we're going to need someone who silences him, and we're going to need maybe a stun for him. Now, keep in mind, he has his spell shield, so maybe someone who initiates before he can react, or someone who can hit him through spell shield, so they have some kind of AoE ability. That can be, like you decide how your target can die and what you need, and if your team has that. If your heroes don't innately have that through spells, you might have to fix that with your items. So example, Storm Spirit. You really need a way to initiate on him quickly. Otherwise, it's very difficult to kill a Storm Spirit. And all your heroes may not have like any stuns. That can be a real issue. That can be a draft loss, for example. But eventually, like say Queen of Pain, she'll pick up an Orchid, and then she can silence Storm Spirit, and now it becomes possible to kill him. Maybe a Hex later in the game. But sometimes, just the heroes alone are missing some step here. And it's important to recognize that so that you don't waste time trying to kill someone that you like literally can't. Or like going to the Morphling example. Yeah, you might be able to initiate and you damage him a lot, but if you can't finish the kill because he just morphs too much strength, like wasting time chasing that is kind of counterproductive. It would be better to farm up, get the items you need, finish a Spirit Vessel, for example, that lets you kill Morphling, and now you can go gank him. So we want to consider what our hero has, what our teammates have, what requirements the enemies have to kill them. And then if we meet these requirements, these criteria, then we can consider ganking. Now for the position 5, like I said, it's hard to lead the safe lane. If you are ganking someone, it tends to be the mid laner. And you know what? Let's hop into a custom lobby and talk about this real quick. First, I want to talk about the vision aspect. So let's pretend we were ganking mid. And in fact, this isn't even relevant to mid specifically. Most heroes in the daytime have 1800... Oh, you can't see it here. You have 1800 units, arbitrary units, of daytime vision and 800 units of nighttime vision. Some heroes have a little bit different. They have less daytime vision or more nighttime vision. But let's consider the standard case where you have 1800 at the day, 800 at night. That means at this point here, Storm Spirit can see me. I can see him, he can see me. I have very short range spells as a Shadow Shaman, which means that if he sees me running this way, look how much time he has to react. He's going to run under tower. And at this point, like, what can I do to him? I can't do anything. This is why smoke is good. So let's say he's standing here. Smoke is good because, so say this is where he was. This is how far we are in normal daytime vision. Smoke allows me to get roughly 800 units closer before it finally breaks here. And now if he suddenly sees me, you know, he might still get away in this case, but it's much closer. And Shadow Shaman, in fact, would probably be able to cut him off, right? Running at an angle where this guy has to run back and I run this way, or maybe he goes this way and I have to chase or something. That time he might get away. But that's why smoke is helpful. It lets us close an extra 800 units before having to react. And the primary benefit is that we can see him. He doesn't know we're here yet. And so we don't just have to walk into vision. We can say blink, you know? But when I wasn't smoked before, let me break my smoke. When I wasn't smoked before, we see each other at the same time, which means even if I try to blink right away, he might also react right away and ult away. So the smoke lets us see him first and still react first, as opposed to seeing at the same time and then who knows. Now, what if we don't have a smoke? Let's put a ward up. Let's say our team has a ward. This guy can't see me. You know why? Because these trees are blocking us. So even without a smoke, and even though it's daytime, by running around this way, like, we're even closer than where I was when I had smoke. When I had smoke, I could get up to like about here, and he was like here. Whereas now, when I run out the trees, I'm probably within, I'd say this is around 600. And this is the idea of ganking mid lane anyways, where we need to approach in a way that allows us to cast our spells as soon as possible without this guy reacting. So just trying to run in from the side in the daytime, not very effective. Smoking in the daytime, that can work, especially if he's down here. Then, you know, you don't break your smoke until like around here. He can't see you because of the tower, and it's only now when the tower gives sight that he sees you and he goes, "Oh no, I'm dead." You know? Or you come around the trees even though you're not smoked. You wait for him to, you know, walk down here, and then you pop out. And even if he quickly tries to get back, you know, we're gonna get him. Nighttime, when it's only 800 vision, we'll see it in a little bit. But that's around here, which means, you know, this is much easier. If we have this ward to see him and he can't see us, you know, we're much more likely able to get a hex off. Or shackle, whatever. In terms of move speed, if it wasn't a storm, it was a sniper, then I could just run up here, and then even if he sees me, we're just faster and we'll get him. So keeping in mind this whole 1800 distance thing in the day and then cutting through trees, this applies at any time, really, but it's the most important against heroes like Storm, who have an escape skill. Now, sometimes we're not ganking mid. We're ganking, say, bottom. And we can do the same thing, where we come out of trees, we sneak through trees. You know, we could have smoked, get close, or we just, like, walk, hope they don't have a ward, get to around here. Even if the gank fails because they have a ward and they back up, that lets us know they have a ward, so it's kind of still okay. If it's just us, if it's a whole team, then that's when it's kind of a waste of our time if he gets away, and that's when smoking becomes more worth it. But if it's just you ganking, then sometimes you can use it as if we get a kill, we get a kill. If he gets away, it's okay. Like, I got some information to get a D ward, and that's pretty good too. But like, see here in nighttime when it's easier to suddenly pop out and they can't see us. Of course, you know, if we both have the same night vision, then we're going to see each other at the same time. But if we have a ward, for example, we know where he is and he doesn't know where we are until, you know, we're right around here. In fact, we can get even closer because he's on the low ground. Low ground, when the mid laner's in the low ground, is a great time to gank, by the way. So let's say we were the safe lane Rasta. Ganking mid lane, like if you think about it, so we just talked about why it's bad generally to just run through here. An exception could be if you get an invis rune, a haste rune. That's kind of it, really. You could make a sick play with an illusion rune where you pretend to be an illusion and you move 2 up here and you just like run at him and then send your third one away. And if they have a ward here, they'll see that and he'll just assume you're illusions. And then you're like, haha, I'm not an illusion. And you get him. That can be a good play. The others aren't so great for helping you initiate, like double damage, arcane. But that can be good for your mid laner. Like double damage, you do more damage. So that can help in the damage criteria. But usually as a position 5, we're there to initiate, not so much provide damage. Now, if you wanted to gank, coming up here is a great way, because in the early game, people rarely have vision over here. So you run down here. Now, if it's nighttime, so you notice how there's a gap. At the nighttime, your hero can actually slip through here without being seen, assuming they don't, for whatever reason, they don't have a ward there, and why would they? And that can let you get over here to now surprise him from this way. You know, the position 5, they would expect to come from this direction, and it would be a bit of a surprise to come from this way. For that same reason, running around your own base, like going this way, all the way around, can also be pretty good. Maybe going this way and then sneaking back. And if you're going to gank the off lane, same deal, where I would say you could run up this way. People don't usually have vision here. Skip the outpost. Depending who you are, right? I wouldn't do this as a Crystal Maiden, because if I get caught out of position here, I'm probably dead. But like as a Rasta or Spirit Breaker's weird position 5, maybe Ogre, I think running this way is totally fine, because if they have a ward, it's probably in this area. And so you can kind of surprise them down this way, where they're less likely to have a ward, and then you run into the lane, and here they are. In the later game, when you're coming to gank, usually someone should have some kind of initiation. So I don't know if we need to talk about getting in position so much, but I will say it's very important to communicate who is going to do what. Say like, let me go in, let me blink, hex, shackle, and then you guys can use your stuns. You know, don't overlap. Saying that ahead of time is really good. It helps you really coordinate your gank and maximize the amount of crowd control you have. And it also helps clear things up. Like to say, look, I'm going to blink hex the Juggernaut. We're going for Juggernaut. We're not, like, ignore the others. Picking out a target and then communicating who is going to go first and telling someone, like, look, I'll go first, then this guy, and then you, third person, save your stun in case they try to teleport. That can also be very good. To have, to coordinate who will save their skills in case they just try to teleport away. Whereas, say you all use them and you didn't get the kill. Somehow you used 3 stuns and didn't get a kill. It can happen, like Morphling, for example. And then he just teleports away and you don't have enough damage. But whereas if you were able to cancel that teleport, he would just have to run back and you're faster than him, so you can slowly get the kill. That's when that's very good to communicate. Now, I have nothing else to say on this topic, so we're going to go into some examples. And it is hard to get examples of position 5 ganks, so we're just going to look at a couple random ganks I have to paint the idea behind them. I think many of you don't need that much clarification on ganking. The final thing I'll say is good opportunities to gank as a position 5 are for the bounty runes, because you're already, let's say we're a Radiant, and we're getting the bounty runes at, let's pretend this is 5 minutes. This is a good time to gank because we're expected to be moving around right now. And since we're like already here getting this rune, it's like, well, mid lane's right here. Might as well give it a shot if we have the correct, initiation and damage. And if not, you just run back to your lane or go somewhere else. Other times it's a good time to trick is runes. So like 4, 6, 8, and 10 minutes. And then every 2 after that. But thinking about the early game, say 4 minutes, you push out your lane, you come here, see what the rune is, it's invis. Oh, perfect. Haste, and you're like, all right, let's go. Go in this storm. He's like, oh no, hexed. Oops, shackled. He didn't really get anywhere. He didn't get a chance to react. Oops. He didn't really get a chance to react because we're hasted and we're so fast. Whereas before, we're some slow hero and we're like, I'm gonna get you, Storm. I'm gonna get you, because... yeah, we're this speed. It's like, look out, Storm, here I come. I'm gonna hex ya. And it's just like, it's just not that good. Now, of course, once you do have a blink, then it's like, boom, gap close, initiation. Okay, let's go look at some examples. First example, this is actually a position 4 example. Like I said, the position 5s don't gank that much, so it's hard to have examples of position 5s. But in this case, I wanted to show a case where all you need to do is provide vision. So I've got a Nature's Prophet who will teleport, Spectre who can have Haunt, Night Stalker who will just run at people. So right now, I just need to find people. And right now, I'm looking at this Puck, where I know we can kill Puck if I find her. So I'm running down looking, and then I'm like, oh, he's here. And you'll see Nature's Prophet will come in, and he'll do everything. All I do is Medallion and provide my ult. And this guy's dead. He got sprouted, so I can't even hit him. But it's fine. Because all I needed to do was find the target. All the damage, the initiation, everything else was accounted for. It's not usually that way. Like, usually you have to contribute some damage or something. In this case, it was fine. But sometimes your job is just to find people. As a position 5, that usually comes in the form of placing wards ahead of time. But if you have an invis rune, for example, your job can be like, I'll just go around and look for someone. So I pick up an invis rune here. Let's say we're the Radiant, and it's like, okay, I will go check up here. I'm going to find some guy farming, and it's like, hey, I found this carry farming here. Queen of Pain, like, shove that lane in, and then meet me over here. So that's one way you provide the vision, just by, like, scouting around, finding where people are. This one was position 5, and this was a mistake on my part. So what I want to show here is the importance of communication and recognizing what you need to kill your opponent. So the funny thing is, I knew Beastmaster didn't have Roar. Like, I saw him use it earlier, and then I even checked his timing. And so I thought we would just be farming up, waiting for it to come up. But then he was like, hey, let's go kill this Lycan that we see here on the map. And for some reason, I still didn't check, and I just thought, oh, okay, he must have Roar. Let's go. And the thing is, Lycan is a very slow hero because he doesn't usually buy boots. He has this Archer aura from the Necronomicon, and so he has 320 move speed. But considering that at this point of the game, many of us have boots, so Beastmaster's 367, I'm 351, you can generally just run down a Lycan who doesn't have his ultimate. So I know we have the damage to kill this guy. And all we need to do is not let him ult and run away. Like, to get out of this death, he has to use his ultimate. And for some reason, I assumed that he would roar. And so you see, I did not ice path till very late, and I panicked because I was like, he's not roaring, and I missed. I should have done it a little higher. Part of the mistake was that it takes so long to cast Dual Breath and then Ice Path that I should have saved my ice. I should have not casted Dual Breath. Like, look how much damage this guy's already done without me. I should have realized Beastmaster will do all the damage. I just need to make sure this guy cannot channel his ult. So I should have saved Ice Path till I saw him start to use it, cancel it, and then I can use Dual Breath and Liquid Fire. But by putting out my damage first and then stunning, that was a big mistake on my part. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes you can do these first. Like, if he didn't have ult, this would have been totally fine. But he did have ult, so this is a bit of a mistake on my part. And the only reason it works out, like, see, he gets away. The only reason it works out is because he runs back in trying to get a kill. But I don't think Beastmaster really needed to die for this, and I'm going to die here now too. So that was kind of my fault. I should have... And as soon as it happened, I was like, my bad, I thought you had Roar. I should have Ice Path. And he said the same thing. He was like, okay, I'm sorry, I should have pinged my ultimate. I think that shows how important it is to communicate, especially in times like this. Like, this should have been a failed gank, which ultimately wouldn't have been a big deal because we were pretty ahead in this game. But still, like, why not get the kill? And it was kind of my fault, right? Ice Path is 12 seconds. Roar is 90 seconds at level 1. So if we only need to use one of them, why would I not have used my Ice Path instead of this guy, like, making this guy use Roar? I should have just Ice Path, get the kill, and then we have Roar for another kill. Maybe he ultimates, maybe Lycan uses his ultimate, and then we roar him, and we can get a second kill later like that. So if you have the lower cooldown stun, you should probably be the first person to go. And if you... Like, my Ice Path is just much more expendable than his Roar, so it should have been mine, and we should have communicated that I was the one who needs to go first. And it was a bit of failing on my part. I should have known that I needed to go first, and I needed to save it. And next time I play against Lycan, I will know that I don't have time to cast Dual Breath and then Ice Path before he ults. I just have to be ready to cast Ice Path first. Yep. So actually from that same game, I realized I probably should have done this one first. That would have made more sense chronologically. But demonstrating when it's a good time to move out and gank. So I decided, you know what? Naga can probably get that rune. Why don't I come grab this one? I'm a little low level, but you know what? I do provide a slow. I do provide some damage. And this guy was ahead of her. And so I thought, I don't know if I guess he misclicked because I actually didn't realize. I never clicked him until this. I don't know if this is a bug. Oh no, there it is. Okay, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But I think this should have been a kill where I should have communicated this. Again, another communication issue. So it just became nighttime. Which means look how close I can get before she sees me. Like, I'm already over here. This would be where she just uses a ward here. So now she sees me. But I can honestly hit her with Dual Breath from here. And this would have been the time for him to ult on top of her, start using his spells. I mean, I didn't know he didn't have this. It's hard for him to land Aether Remnant without help. Which is why, even though I don't have like that many levels, just being able to provide a slow so that he can land his Aether Remnant, like that will be enough damage to get this kill. So I think this would have been a good gank attempt if I had spoken up sooner. While I was waiting for this rune, I should have said, can we go on Lina? Because he was ahead of her, right? He's 6. Like, she's pretty behind. And, I mean, I didn't know how behind, obviously, but I did have that feeling in the game where I knew he was winning the lane. I don't know when he used his E, but it looks like it was very recently. So if I had said I wanted to gank her while I was waiting for this rune, I think he would have saved his spell. And then, you know, right here is when we would go. He would, instead of backing away, I would have said, hey, I want to go on her. He would have kept the creeps here. And then as I walk up, I Dual Breath. He ults in, uses his spell, you know, maybe dissimilates when she tries to stun him. Then he lands an Aether Remnant while she's slowed. That's a kill. And this is a good time because it's nighttime. I was already rotating around for the runes. Jakiro, not usually a ganking hero. Lucky me, she totally whiffed it. Jakiro, not usually a ganking hero. And you should know that, where some heroes are just not good at ganking, right? Ancient Apparition, pretty awful at it. He provides some slows, sure, but his stun is so unreliable. And until he has his ult, he doesn't really provide that much damage. He provides a little bit, and sometimes that's all you need. Like, Void Spirit, he's very close to having enough damage to just kill this Lina on his own. And so he just needs a little bit of help from, say, even a level 2 Jakiro to cast a few spells to make it easier to land Aether Remnant, provide a couple auto attacks. It's like 200 to 300 damage from me, but that's really all you need in the early game. Many heroes have combinations that get an enemy hero close to death, like to 200 health, but it's not enough to actually finish them off. And so sometimes all you need is the position 5, even when you're a really weird ganker like AA or Oracle maybe. Oracle's like okay at it because you have a root and decent damage, but you're still not usually a ganking hero, I suppose. But I guess just know that sometimes you do have just opportunistic ganks, even for people who aren't usually good at ganking. Like in this case where, like, conveniently she was running top and I was running this way. It was nighttime. Like, yeah, I'm only level 2, but like, it just works out this time. Usually I'm not much of a ganker, but sure, why not this time? Yeah. Find one more example, I think. Here's another good example of not necessarily needing to smoke or anything for a gank. But here we are. We're going to take this mid tower. And I want to ward. So I scan up here. We know someone's here. I drop a ward because I know we can get kills with Legion. And all I needed was to smoke so she could run in and duel. I wanted her to duel before he gets his spin off. I don't know if that was a soon. I think she cast her W first. I really don't think she needed to. Because I knew having Queen of Pain there, like, we had the damage. We just needed the lockdown from duel. In that case, it worked out still. But sometimes just that moment of, like delay. Like he got his spin off. Sometimes those kind of reactions can make the difference when they get to BKB before being dueled, for example. In that case, I think it was really important for Legion to just duel right away. And then my Macro Pyre and like Queen of Pain's abilities, they would have been enough to kill that Jug. But instead, she had to ult because Jug was still spinning. If we go back. Like, he's only got 1,000 health. Yeah, if she had ulted first, he wouldn't have it. I could have just Macro Pyred right away. I don't know why I still Macro Pyred. I guess out of panic. It didn't do anything. I think I had Macro Pyre queued up anyways, and I didn't like process that he had a spun, and I was like, how did he spin? I had him stunned. And then I think I just did it anyways out of panic. Fortunately, she comes up and screams. But like Macro Pyre and my spells and her auto attacks would have been pretty close to killing Jug on our own, let alone with her jumping in and then using Scream, another 225 damage. That would have killed Jug. So in this case, running up here, even though the scan went off and I knew someone was here, I warded anyways because I figured we could get the kill. I knew we were strong. I knew we had all of us together. And fortunately, he was in a position where he didn't see me. So yeah, I lied. We'll try to find one more example of a gank. So here, I want to show something I didn't strictly talk about, but we're going to mention it now. If too many people suddenly disappear from the map, it's a little suspicious. So I think this is a mistake from the enemy team because 3 of us haven't shown on the map in a long time. Our carry Nature's Prophet, that's what was happening this game, is farming the jungle, so that's not that weird to not see a carry. Quap is showing mid, and she just clears this wave. The second she's done, you know, we smoke and we head out. Unfortunately, she went for a deny there, I think. Or maybe that was the last hit I missed. I don't know. But her smoke is broken. But it's okay for her to follow us. Because having one hero, like, let's pretend they had vision. They don't, but let's pretend they had vision here. And they see Quap running top. That's not too weird. It's just one hero. It may not be ideal, but it's not that bizarre. It's like, okay, just Queen of Pain is going top. We don't necessarily have to be scared. There's, 2 of us here. We can handle a Queen of Pain. But it's the 3 of us that are smoked that are going to surprise them. And then Quap is following up. So a lot of times when you're going for smoke ganks, have someone showing, have your lanes pushing. No, it's not that weird for us to not be with this creep wave. Because this is quite far up. So it's not strange that our heroes aren't here. But if this was hitting our towers, it's weird that none of us are dealing with that. Same with like the carry. It's ideal for the carry to be farming somewhere. If they're under vision, it's not too big of a deal for us who are ganking because it's normal for a carry to be farming. But if you try to get everyone to go in the gank, it gets weird. Here, I think well, let's do a free camera. I think Legion could wait a little longer. Like, we are still a bit far behind, and it's not like he's going anywhere. So I think this is a little too preemptive. Sometimes you have to remember, even when you're the initiator, I think this is really important. Take a look at your teammates real quick before you go in. Fortunately, Macro Pyre is a very long spell, and a lot of my others are also quite long. But by the time duel is over, he's not going to make it. She is maybe going to be able to get there in time. I would say no. Like, look how far this is. Plus, if she's blinking over trees, I actually had to Macro Pyre to get to them once she did this. Because otherwise, what do we have to do? We have to run around the side. Duel is going to be over by the time that happens. So do keep that in mind when you're ganking. If you're able to blink or something and you're blinking over trees. If I was a Dazzle, for example, like, what would I be able to do? I can't do anything. If I was a Shadow Shaman, I'd be like, well, wait for me to run around these trees. We're not going to be able to chain stun because I can't cross this. Or sometimes someone's just like way too fast and they blink initiate and the rest of the team is like back here still trying to run and catch up. That's another issue. So in this case, I had to Macro Pyre so that we could get in range and I could actually walk in and assist. And then overall, it works out because we have like a Nature's Prophet who's very mobile and Queen of Pain is able to blink in. But I guess that's all I wanted to say about ganking. I think we're going to talk a bit more about it in terms of our game plan video when we're talking about priorities and playing the map, reading vision. I think this video is just the basics of ganking, setting things up like chain, like who's going to go first, that kind of thing. And then In the game plan video, I will try to explain more how you look at the map, decide where to go, and how that sets up your ganks. It's difficult to include all this in one video because it's just like, it's so much. So that's why I've been trying to cover everything and set us up for that game plan video, because that's finally like, okay, we have all the pieces, and now here's how we decide how to play the game out overall and make these gank movements, where to place these wards, so on. So yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Next video is, I don't even know. I can't remember right now, but I'm sure it'll be educational, hopefully like this one was. Thanks again. See you later. We'll just end. Goodbye.